Philae is a Greek name. It means in Arabic أنس الوجود. The name in hieroglyphic is Pilak or Balik. Before 1902, when the British constructed the Dam of Aswan, the temple was one of the biggest tourist attractions in Egypt. After the Dam of Aswan, the temple was swamped by the water of the dam for 6 months every year. The tourists took the rowing boats to glide among the partially submerged columns. When the high dam was nearing completion in 1960, the UNESCO came to the rescue of the temple. The temple was dedicated to the goddess Isis. By the Roman time, Isis had become the greatest of all the Egyptian gods, worshipped right across the Roman Empire, even as far as Britain. Indeed, well, after Rome and its empire embraced Christianity, Isis was still being worshipped at Philae as late as 550 after Christ, when her temple was officially closed by the Emperor Justinian. Although Isis worship at Philae dates to around 690 before Christ at least, the earliest visible remains of the temple date from the reign of the pharaoh Nectanebo, who ruled between 380 to 362 before Christ. Most of the rest of the temple was initiated by Ptolemy II Philadelphus and added to for the next 500 years until the reign of Diocletian, who ruled between 284 and 305 after Christ. The early Christians also added their bit by transforming the main temple's hypostyle hall into a chapel and building a church dedicated to the Virgin Mary and defacing the pagan reliefs. Their inscriptions were then vandalized and the church was closed by the Muslim invaders in the 7th century. The boat leaves you at the Hall of Nectanebo, the oldest part of the temple. This is followed by the outer temple court, then the first pylon, then the second pylon. To the east of it, we're gonna find the kiosk of Trajan. The outer temple court has colonnades running on both sides. The western colonnade is the most completed. At the southern part there was a temple dedicated for Hathor. 4 columns remained of it, surmounted by the head of Hathor. Here we can see 1, 2, 3, the 4 columns which remain from the old sanctuary for Hathor. Here no 2 capitals are the same, so we understand that it is a Greco-Roman structure and not pharaonic structure. If you look at the base of the columns, you will see the damage caused by the water of the Dam of Aswan. This is the first pylon. It is 18-meter high and it has 2 sections, one to the right and one to the left. At the bottom left part, you see reliefs of Ptolemy XII Neos Dionysus. He is the father of Cleopatra the 7th, which we know as Cleopatra. We see him here smiting his enemies. Above Neos Dionysus we can see two Ptolemies, one making offering to Osiris and Isis, and the second to Isis and Horus. The right upper part has reliefs of two Ptolemies, offering to Isis and Osiris and Horus and Isis. Down we see reliefs for Osiris, Horus and Hathor. The holes you see on the upper part of the two sections were for the two flags. Once there were two granite obelisks. They vanished and only the base of one of them remains. Also we can see statues of two lions. The Copt engraved two crosses, one to the right and one to the left of the door of the pylon, instead of the head of Hathor. Also there is graffiti made by the Copt on the first pylon. In 1799, General Dizeix left a graffiti commemorating his victory over the Mamluks. At the back of the wall of the first pylon, there is a relief for the sacred bark of Isis carried by the high priests. Inside the first pylon, there is a birth house, or in Copt, Mamisi, dedicated to Horus. Successive pharaohs reinstated their legitimacy as mortal descendants of Horus by taking part in the Mamisi rituals, which celebrated the god's birth. In ancient Egypt, the Nilometer was used to measure the amount of the rising water of the flood. The higher the water, the higher the taxes, the lower the water, the lower the taxes. Some kind of justice. On the second pylon on the left side we can see reliefs for Isis, Osiris and the Ptolemy. On the right lower section there are reliefs for Isis, Horus and the Ptolemy. Like the first pylon, it has two holes for the flags, one to the right and one to the left. As in the first pylon, the Copt had engraved two crosses on the entrance, one to the right and one to the left. The second pylon entrance leads to the hypostyle hall. The Copt used it as a church, and they engraved two crosses, one to the left and one to the right. The hypostyle hall has 10 columns. The columns are of very high quality, also with a fine workmanship. The hypostyle halls leads to the 3 inner chambers. They were used as crypts. Inside the first inner chamber, we can see the Ptolemy, Hathor, then Horus. In the second inner chamber, we can see Osiris, Isis, and Horus. Look at Horus putting his finger in his mouth like a baby. Here we can see Isis giving life to the Ptolemy. This is the third inner room. It is called the offering room. In this relief, the Ptolemy is offering to Nephthys, the sister of Isis. We see the Ptolemy wearing the crown of war and offering incense to Isis. And here the Ptolemy is offering to Hathor. Here the reliefs are very clear, very beautiful and very, very well done. Look and enjoy. The Copt used the hypostyle hall as a chapel. This is used to be the altar with a cross engraved on it. Also, they engraved a cross on the wall and they chiseled out what they called the bas reliefs. This is the cross, and this is the wall chiseled out from the bas reliefs. In the sanctuary, we can see Horus wearing the crown of Upper and Lower Egypt and suckling from his mother Isis. Also in the sanctuary, we can see Isis protecting her husband Osiris by her wings, while the Ptolemy is making offering. Between the Ptolemy and the gods, we can see the lotus flower, symbol of Lower Egypt. On the gate of Hadrian, we can see reliefs depicting the myth of Osiris. Here we can see Hapi, the god of the Nile, holding the two branches of the delta in his hands. In front of him, Hathor pouring water on the coffin of Osiris. Above the coffin, Horus depicted as falcon. In front of the coffin there are Isis, Nephthys, Horus, and Ammon using their magics to return Osiris to life. The kiosk of Trajan or Pharaoh's bed is situated to the east of the infrastructure of the temple. It has 14 columns. It is Roman monument and not Greek. It is the most famous monument of Philae and frequently painted by the Victorian artists. It inflamed their imagination.